Okay, if you've watched part one, get ready for part two. This is the second part of the presentation. And again, dealing with the pandemic in a pandemic for the African American History Month celebration. And again, as I said before, we're speaking to individuals from London, Wales, and the US. Enjoy part two. Make sure that you leave some type of comment, as well as if you enjoy, make sure you share the video. Take care. God bless.
Something done because of that pressure to be perfect. And I think that it does partially speak to me as a person, like being a perfectionist, being very type A. But how, like, what would you say to someone with that type of personality who continually strives to to be great at work, despite, and then maybe putting their life in the background?
Felicia, you want to speak to the perfectionism or do you want me?
I'm gonna let you take the lead, and then I'll piggyback the
I got
conversation.
you. Well, you just spoke to it right there. The idea of being perfect. So I'm gonna ask you a very simple question. Can anyone be perfect?
No.
So let's take that off the table first. Is that the pressure that you're feeling is applied by you? You're applying pressure to what you perceive is what you need to do to be you. So I would first step back and create clear structures. So what you need to do is clear so you'll actually see what your day is looking like. A book that I would give you is The One Thing by Gary Keller. Okay, the one thing, that's to anybody actually, the one thing. It actually talks about how multitasking is evil. In actuality, and it's real simple. If I asked you to recite the alphabet up to the letter D, you wouldn't think about it. If I said count to one, two, three, four, you wouldn't think about it. But the minute I say intertwine the two, you would go A, one, two, three. Forget all that. When you focus on one thing, get it done. Stephen Covey talks about think with the end in mind and do the most important thing first. If you structure your day on what your day is going to look like, knock those things down as they come. One, you've taken away all the extra thought, which takes away the anxiety. Two, you'll be able to see exactly how productive you were for the day. And then three, be comfortable with saying, I'm done. I'm going home. Work is over because you already know you can't be perfect. Now, why you feel the need to be perfect is what we would talk about in counseling, because that may come from somewhere else of feeling that I wasn't perfect in the eyes of, say, parents, a loved one, whatever. That's what counseling, that's when anybody listening, that's where professional counseling comes in, is because often we are the remnants of what was when we were younger or whatever, whether it's trauma or whether it's just the environment that we grew up in. So often the weight that we apply on ourselves was because it was applied to us somewhere else. And how we manifest it comes out in certain behaviors. This is what us as trained professionals, you see how, and I did what I did on purpose when I said, Felicia, do you want to talk about professionalism? And you see she nodded in agreement because she heard what I heard, but that's what professionals do. We hear maybe what other folks can't hear because there's labels for a lot that we are, but the reason why you come to a professional is because our job is to study those things. So when we sit and talk with you, we can then try to put it in palatable ways that it makes sense. Because if we just ran through all the therapeutic jargon, you'd close your ears out and go, I'm not trying to hear it. But if I can make it make sense, now you go, okay, I get that. So China, to your point, is one, once you acknowledge that you're not perfect, that's okay, because none of us are. But you're perfectly you. Now, understand what I said. You're perfectly you. There is no other China Lewis. There might have the other name, but there's only you. So once you're okay with you, now the question becomes, how do I be the best me when I'm working? And then how do I turn that off and then put on my after work hat and be whoever you're going to be? And not make it okay by saying that's the type of personality. No, that's accepting something that we know might be uncomfortable. No, we let it go. We wear multiple hats in multiple situations. You don't have to be perfect in all of them. And you don't have to feel bad if you're not. Because the beautiful thing of not being perfect is that that's what attracts people to you because we're all different. There's only one Keith K.L. Belvin out here. That's me. So my experiences are my own, and I am perfectly me. Am I perfect? Not at all. And it is my flaws that allows me to go and speak. I even wrote books on it. Because what I was for 37 years compared to what I've been the last 17 is important, because I got to be able to show the growth of what I became once I reevaluated my life. But if I try to hide the 37 years, well, some of what I am or some of what I'm connected to is not going to make sense. So to yourself, just be comfortable with you. Be comfortable that you can't get it all done. Be okay with that. And then don't think about it, because you're going to connect yourself to other things once you get off from work. And those other things, whatever it is, if you apply yourself with the same energy, you'll find you ain't going to have time to really think about work. You're going to have time with getting into that and find yourself being able to balance that out. But I would love to hear what Felicia has to add to that.
Only thing I would definitely add, I agree with all of it.
Mm-hmm.
But because you guys work from home, it is a mind shift.
Yeah, definitely.
You have to be able to figure out what's that mind shift. And I tell people all the time, I have lots of clients that are working from home, but they're working in their bedrooms. I have a client that works in their closet. And I said to them, if you were somebody introduced you in the office and they showed you the closet, you'd have 59 attitudes. So why are you putting yourself in a closet to spend 8 hours of your day and think that's a perfect workspace, right? And then get mad. So being able to figure out what's going to make yourself healthy in that 8 to 4, 9 to 5, 6 to 3, whatever your hours are, and someplace that you can shut it and be able to make a clean break and say, okay, this is my office and this is my home. Sometimes it's difficult, right? Because oftentimes you're crammed for space. If you live in certain places where it's like tight, studio may not have the luxury of having another space, but it's easier to say than to do. Throw up a partition, put a curtain, and just having that physical boundary will often allow you to open up and give yourself the ability to say, okay, from this space to this space, this 10 feet of my house is my work, and this other 900 feet is my home. So make a physical barrier. Get up from your work, go around, go around the curtain, close the door, get out the closet, so that makes your mind start to shift.
That's a great point, because that's actually why my window over here has a banner over it, because I will tend to look out the window because I suffer from ADD, and I literally will sometimes watch the cars go by, the people riding bikes or the kids walking, and all of a sudden I done spent 10 minutes staring out the window. So I literally have just blacked it off, put my banner up there so when the camera comes on you can see it, and just I don't even worry about that side back there, because if the window is open, so my wife jokes, she's like, how come you don't need a light in here? I say, because I'll be staring out the window. She said, you and ADD. I'm like, yes. And I literally will go for walks. That's how I get attention to what's going on. I go see what's happening. But if that window is open, I used to do it in school and just stare out the window. So what Felicia's saying is 100% correct, but you have to know you to be able to do that inside your own home, especially when working from home.
Right. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Also, if no one else has other questions, I guess a question that would be helpful for everyone, I think maybe we obviously everyone here is putting the work in to better themselves, to better their lives. Obviously, just by doing something like this, speaking their professional, even if it's not consistent, even if they don't have a regular professional to see. But how would you deal with others who aren't doing the work? Because obviously, while we're learning best tactics, best practices for ourselves, not everyone is doing that. So how do you get through to someone like your boss or something who doesn't necessarily put in that work?
So I will take that, Keith. Is that okay?
Oh, go right ahead. Go right ahead. Go right ahead. Definitely.
I'm going to speak to that in being the vision of why we're here, right? So for Black History Month, we are, optimizing things that work in the people of color in the BIPOC community, and it's different. And so I think that owning that this is different and how you respond to something and how you're working on something may or may not be different in their eyes as well, right? And so we literally only have the responsibility of taking care of ourselves in the present and in the future. And I also like keep look at that past, look at it for some history and not too much, because we're not staying back there. But if it's in your present, that means you have it like a knapsack and you're just carrying it all around. And sometimes the best thing that you can do for someone who's not taking care of themselves is to allow them the opportunity to recognize. And you can do things like just owning, I'm being good in my own space, I'm taking care of myself. And that doesn't mean you say to someone, you're not taking care of yourself. That's why, we can't have this conversation. But there's lots of ways, and I too, like Keith, use a lot of humor, uh, and it can be misconstrued in the workplace. And the good thing about the mask and not the mask is that I've learned to like laugh and smile with my eyes, as opposed to having to use my mouth to say things, and allowing someone some comfort. I'm a big fan of giving people a soft place to land, because although they may not be taking care of themselves, they have the same struggles that you potentially have, but that does not mean that is your struggle. So you allow them to keep that where it is. You don't need any of their baggage, and you don't allow them to give it to you. So somewhere there's like this gentle barrier around you that should be able to protect you on one level. However, I think what you're saying is when I look at the people that are in my work circle and I actively know there are some things that they could be addressing because I'm addressing them myself, how and maybe should I say to them, this is the option that you have. I see this is affecting you. And I think that's a very sensitive space, right? So even if you are a supervisor with subordinates telling them that they need some mental health treatment, very, very, very sensitive. I don't know that you can really like blurt that out, right? There's all sorts of mechanisms to allow you to have a lawsuit about that. And then telling your boss that you have some mental health issues will be the same lawsuit in a different direction. But the one thing I do know is that you don't have to take their baggage and you don't have to absorb their negative energy and you don't have to allow that energy to impact you. And having your voice to say, I like, Keith, what you said about don't allow yourself to be muted, but to allow yourself to have a voice and a space that's appropriate to have that voice. And I don't know that you can solve the whole world. We often go into and folks, I love my folks that are in therapy, but the lessons that they come out the door with, they're like, I need to fix everybody. It
Yeah.
is not your job.
Mhm.
It's not your job to fix everybody. It's like, okay, I learned this in therapy and I'm gonna tell everybody because I need them to do it too. That is not your role, right? We cannot fix everybody. We can initially hope to impact our human kindness, right? And to be able to hope that folks around you can see your growth and see how good you're doing and they want to have a conversation about it. And you're free to share or not to share. But your
Exactly.
sole role is to take care of yourself and let that light shine through, and it will impact others just by doing that. You ever meet somebody you say good morning to and you're listening, you're like, wait, they didn't say good morning. Like, it's a common courtesy. Why aren't we speaking to each other now? We're human beings, right?
Hmm.
And it messes up your whole day. And by the time you get to your office, you are negative Nelly when you came in happy as a lark.
Hmm.
Same premise.
Hmm.
Keep yourself in perfect peace, allow you to have your own ability to grow in the growth that you're in. And in that growth, you'll also know how to deal with their non growth.
Hmm. Which is outstanding. And I would just simply add this: one, do something kind, and I'm gonna tell you why I say that. By doing something kind, you open the door for people to be friendly with you.
Mm-hmm.
That allows you to now have conversations because one, no, you cannot save the world, and you'd be foolish to even think so. And I always joke, I used to when I was in the classroom. And of course, we're not supposed to teach religion in school, and I didn't. But I would say I teach with a very simple philosophy. I would write on the board, even Noah had to close the ark at some point. I said, anybody know what that means? And the kids would look, high school kids too. What are you talking about? It means that after 40 years, or whatever amount of time that Noah spent trying to convince somebody that you need to get on this boat, he had to walk up that plank and go, that's it. These are the 8 I'm rocking with. So at some point, you have to go, it's not for me to change the world. It's for me to be me, be consistently me, but give people opportunities to get to know me. And if I'm doing it right, I will have an effect on other people. Case in point, making friends at work. Not the thing that I advise, but being friendly. I always see that and I go, I don't want to be friends with everybody at work. Friendly. And I used to tell folks, I'm friendly, I'm cordial. I rarely have friends. Because how many people at your job have actually been to your house to eat? So you're not friends, and be careful with that word. Help others. Do you know that in service, we actually do more to the positive than when we actually want service? Next, find common interests. Let folks know you're into fitness. Let folks know you're into anime. Let folks know you're into comics. I got a bunch of Marvel and DC comics over here. I'm a gigantic kid at heart. I don't hesitate to let people know that. Because you will find there's some other weirdos roaming around the job just like you. Cool, let's go and have a conversation. We can argue about the Avengers all day. Then look to start a group. People like community. People like, oh, so you dress up like one of the Avengers? Yeah, come on, let's go. We can go. And then look for different opportunities that present themselves. Those things right there. Open up the door and allow you to now, if you want to save whoever wants to show up. Because you would be the person orchestrating that. Because the danger with trying to save the world is you destroy yourself. Because you weren't designed to save the world. Now, depending on what your faith is, none of us were. But what we were designed to do is automatically connect with like-minded folks. You will hear people say, girl, you're like the sister I never had. Yo, you're like the brother I never had. Why? Because people gravitate to things that are similar to what they feel. To the negative, too. We see it going on all around the world. So you can't see it negatively and not think that it doesn't balance out positively. It does, but too many of us go back to what I was just saying to Quincy, muting ourselves. When you mute yourself, you take a God-given voice out of the picture. Well, let's do this. That voice was given to you for a reason. That has nothing to do with you, believe it or not. I believe that as a man of faith. That talents that I have was not for me. It was for the people that when I go out and do it, go, oh. And how many times have we heard this? You're like an angel. You're a godsend. Oh my God, I was praying for someone like you. Oh my God, I don't know who sent you. And you're like, I was coming to get donuts anyway. I just happened to see you standing out here and you needed some help. Okay, your reasoning doesn't matter to the person that you're helping. And that's the one thing that I have learned in my time that I've gotten older and more mature. The world has slowed down because I'm older. Is that once I realize it's not about me. It's how many people do I allow to have access to me because I'm me. There's a difference in that. The vanity part you take off the table, and all of a sudden you'll see people that go, my sister's brother, cousin told me I should talk to you. Sure, what's up? And make yourself available. You know how many of us sit at work, even at home? Oh, I ain't answering that email. Oh, I'm not getting on Microsoft Teams today. And if given the opportunity, most of y'all would turn your cameras off. I work with the ATF. I have a contract with the government. I do presentations. I literally am talking to the initials of like 100 to 200 people. Now, I don't say to them, turn your camera on. It's not my position. So I literally have to talk to a screen and be this person to letters. So I have fun with it. And I go, okay, y'all going to make me sing for myself, or y'all going to make me tap dance? No problem. I'm going to do whatever. But here's what I'm going to do since y'all don't want to turn your cameras on. I better hear from all of y'all at the end of my presentation, or I'm going to start calling you out one by one. You know what happens by the time I'm done? This is what happens. The cameras start to pop on. Because they got to the end and realized I am the same person at the end of the hour that I was at the start of the hour, and now they come to the dance floor to talk. So just being who I am, being the perfect me, to you, China, is all I need to be, and other people feel comfortable, and all of a sudden they come because of what you offer. Or everybody on this call has something that's uniquely theirs. If you give that out to the world, you will start to find other people Another book that you can read, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. He actually talks about why can't we have sustained happiness? You know why? Because many of us, after 2 weeks of happiness, will literally rip the bottom out because we'll go, I can't be this happy. Something's wrong here. It can't be this good. So we literally sabotage ourselves because we are shocked that we're feeling this great. You get a promotion and you literally go, what's this for? Damn, you should have gave me this months ago, but okay. We find $1. We don't think. Find 100, you start looking around. What's the difference? Because the value of what you found. So now you're looking to see if somebody set you up instead of just picking it up and going, oh, okay, let's go. Keep it moving. So what I'm saying to you is just create the opportunity and people will come. They'll show up. And all of a sudden, some of those problems that you have, you'll see that you all share them and you can fix them. And again, I hope that helps.
It does, and I think that what you and Felicia said, I think that was a great way to end our conversation. So I do want to pass over the floor to the two of you if you have any last words. But before I do, I would just like to thank everyone for being here, even if you didn't speak. Thank you so much for at least participating and just being here is a great start. And so with that, I'll just pass it over to Felicia and Keith real quick for some.
As always, ladies first. Go right ahead.
Thank you. I took that opportunity to just write down a couple of tips for some emotional well-being. And we know that February is Heart Health Month, right? So it kind of like blends the two, right? So I'm just going to give them really quick. Give yourself some permission to live with passion, have some fun, do something spontaneous. Develop close relationships that you can count on for support, either at work or family. Create some positive affirmations and practice them daily. Learn to manage your stress and communicate your feelings in a safe and non-aggressive way. Practice some forgiveness and move forward in your life. Don't say things out of anger. Remember, words have power and can be deeply hurtful. Learn about fair fighting in your personal relationships. Avoid upsetting or violent arguments that could separate you from your loved ones, from your spouse, from your children. Those things can cause emotional damage. Work with yourself or the help of a counselor to help wounds and sources of destructive behavior. And the very most important, practice self-respect and self-love. They reinforce each other, and these feelings, you'll start to treat yourself with the highest regard. And at the end of the day, really, right, we really want to love ourselves first. So it was my pleasure to be here. I wish you blessings and empowerment in your workforce and in your daily lives. And hopefully we'll meet again at some point.
How do I follow that up? Lord, I'm going on the road with Lisa. We going on the road. I'm just going to hang out. We good to go. Well, first and foremost, again, I want to say thank you to Denise and to China, you guys, for having me here. I appreciate the invite and glad that I could be of service, and hopefully I brought some value to the table. I would offer this to help with just your focus on things is be honest, be engaged, be indispensable. And that simply means being the best you. Be persistent, because things are not going to change just because you added voice to it. And then be realistic. Those 5 things. And I'll give it to you again if anybody's listening. Be honest. Be engaged. Be indispensable. Be persistent. Be realistic. And the reason why, if you do those 5 things, the world will slow down, which will allow you to decide what's the next move for you. For me, it took 37 years to get out of my own way and realize it was not about how I wanted to live in this world. It was about what I could bring to this world. Now, I've spent the last 17 years trying to give back or make amends for what I used to be. So my prayers have changed. I pray for time and I pray for clarity. Lord, keep my mind clear so I can give a solid message, and grant me time because I wasted so much. And I figure if I have those 2 things and I stay consistent with the 5 things that I just gave you, and I think I have embodied all 5, then what it does, it allows me to help and reach others. And if I do that, then I've did my job on this planet. What I'm doing in the chat, I'll type in ways you can reach me. My website, my what's name, and social media, I'm the same thing. All Keith K.L. Belvin. I don't play all these weird names or you can't find me. And also what I did was, if you want to reach out, I set up a link for a discovery session as well. It's free. you can just reach out and say, look, I need to talk, bro. We got to get on the couch. You can lay on your couch in your house if that's what you want to do. It's quite okay. But I'm here to help. And the reason why is because I also know that in environments like this, many of us don't feel as comfortable. And it's one of the reasons why I work to set up mental health ministries with churches, is that a lot of people who go to church want to share what's wrong, but they're scared to say it to their pastor and their church leadership. I am the outside agent who comes in to have that conversation simply because many of us want the privacy to be able to explain what's wrong, and we don't want to feel like we're being judged. And that's another thing that Felicia and I bring to the table, is that when you work with a professional, it allows you to be comfortable enough to be vulnerable and not feel that you're going to be victimized. That is the biggest part of what we bring to the table. The freedom for you to just let it all out. And then we're going to figure out how to keep what you need, throw out what you don't, and rebuild. Not make you somebody new, but rebuild what's there. And then you take it from there. Because we can talk a whole lot, but when this camera's off, what are you going to be? And what are you going to do? That's what I bring to the table. And again, I hope it has been of value to you. I've seen some of the messages popping up on my phone. I'll get to all of them because it'd be rude if I just started picking up my phone.